In this lesson, we will continue our focus on business telephone English. We will practice some common business telephone situations, but first, let me give you a hint. This is important enough to put into one of our short business files, so take a look. Business communication hints. Learn, and remember, the names of your colleagues and clients. It is often a good idea to repeat the name when you meet a person. That helps the memory. Use the name of the person with whom you are communicating. It's a sign of respect and interest. Now, of course, in our exercises, it is difficult to practice using names. This program is designed to instruct many different people, so using names isn't always practical. But do remember the hint. Use names regularly in your business communications. Here is some preparation for another very common, very important business telephone situation. The following business file will prepare you with expressions for accepting an agreement or a proposal and for making appropriate responses in the situation. And it will be useful in other related circumstances. Expressions for agreements. I'm very happy to tell you that. I'm pleased to inform you that. We're looking forward to this association. We believe this arrangement will be mutually advantageous. We are excited about the possibilities. We believe this agreement, contract or proposal, will affect both of our organizations most positively. I hope we can move forward on this project very soon. We look toward beginning operations as soon as possible. Let's arrange to meet so that we can map out our next steps. We'd like to meet with you in order to start this project quickly. When would it be convenient to meet? Please let us know your next available time for our meeting. Now notice, in this first group, we're dealing with acceptances, and in the second group, responses. In the third group, encouragement, and the fourth group, initiating the next step. You may wish to study this acceptance business file further before doing the next practice, or you may want to write down some of the phrases before you continue. All right, you studied the business file. In our practice, you'll use some of these expressions to inform me of an agreement, acceptance of a contract, proposal, etc. Here's an example. Situation. You are calling to inform a business associate, me, that the agreement or proposal, contract, has been approved and is ready for formalization. You. I'm pleased to inform you that our agreement has been approved here, and we are prepared to go ahead on this project. Me. Great. We're looking forward to this association. I know this will be a very successful project. Now, of course, there are many possible variations, and your statements may not be exactly like the example. Let's try a few of these. You'll see the situation on screen. I'll read it and pause for you to initiate a statement. Here we go. 1. You must call to inform a business associate that your agreement, proposal, or contract has been approved and is ready for formalization. You must arrange an appointment. You. You might say, I'm pleased to inform you that our agreement has been approved here and we are prepared to go ahead on this project. And my response, great. We're looking forward to this association. I know this will be a very successful project. Number 2, situation. You are reacting to my interest in our proposal agreements. You must respond to my excitement, and then you must indicate how to proceed. Me. We are really very excited about this arrangement, and I hope you can continue our development of projects. You. You might say, yes, we are too, and we hope we can move forward on this project quickly. Then my response, yes, indeed, we can move on this quickly. You. You could say, "Very good. When would it be convenient for me to meet with you?" Number 3, situation. I am calling to tell you about our joint agreement, and I want to offer some ideas. You must respond. Me. We believe this proposal will affect both of our organizations most positively. You. Well, you could say, I'm looking forward to a mutually beneficial relationship. Me. Can we get busy on it right away? I've got some good ideas about getting underway. You. Your response might be, let's arrange to meet so we can map out our next steps. Number 4, the situation. You're calling to tell me about your enthusiasm for the joint project we agreed to undertake in our last conversation. Offer a next step. You. You might say, we're very excited about the project we discussed last week. It promises to be a very important undertaking. Me? Yes, I think so too, and I'm happy you are so enthusiastic. You? Well, you could say something like, I've been thinking a lot about the project over the last couple of days, and I would like to propose some working arrangements. Would you be able to meet with us in the next couple of days? Me. Certainly. Tell me what your schedule's like. You. You might say, can we arrange to meet on Monday or Tuesday? I'll be happy to come to your office. Me. Okay. How about Tuesday, first thing in the morning? You? Fine. I'll be there at 9 o'clock. Number 5. Here's the situation. I am calling you to urge you to join me in moving ahead on our recent agreement. Make appropriate responses to my suggestions. Me. My firm is extremely positive about our joint arrangements, and I would like to urge you to work with me so that we can move ahead with this project. You. You might say, we also believe this thing has a lot of potential. What exactly did you have in mind? Me. Why don't we get a couple of people from our staffs together, maybe set up some teams, and develop an action plan? I'd really like to move on this. You. You could respond, that's fine with me. I have 3 staffers whom I would like to assign to the project. When do you want to meet? Me. Is next week all right? I'll check with my staff and get back to you with a couple of dates later today. You. As a closer, you might say, that's fine. I'll be waiting to hear from you. That's a great job and an important topic, telephone business English. In this lesson, we will consider communication situations for supervisors. In particular, we will look at how supervisors can communicate effectively with the people whom they supervise. Communications must be clear, direct, and effective, and we also want to make them as cordial and polite as the situation will allow. To begin, let's take a look at one of our handy business files. This file is devoted to supervisory starters. Supervisory starters. Andrean, I don't want to intrude, but are you having any problems you'd like to discuss? Isabel, you seem distracted lately. Would you like to discuss anything with me or with our personnel department? Diane, we need to discuss the duties of your job and how they can best be accomplished on time. Can we meet tomorrow at 11 a.m.? Miss Leung, I would like to speak with you about your job performance and the recent reports from HRD. Would you please call Miss Crispy to schedule an appointment to discuss this? Mr. Regal, you've been rather inconsistent in your response to the request from my office. Would you please make an appointment with my secretary so we can discuss it? Dr. Sturm, would you please make an appointment with my secretary, Rachel Ravine, so that we can discuss our recent problems? Miss Baus, I would like to speak with you in my office at 4 o'clock today. Mr. Abbas, please come into my office. I need to speak to you on an important issue. Notice that these starters move from the most informal to the most formal. The first 3 starters are rather friendly. The problems are probably not so great. But the last 2 starters are serious. They are not even questions. They are as close as we get to real, polite commands in business English. Now, let me demonstrate. We will do an interactive practice which will require you to role-play typical supervisory situations. Example. Situation. Your assistant, Rohini, seems nervous, a little out of sorts, and you're worried about how it might affect his job. You? I don't want to intrude, Rohini, but are you having problems you'd like to discuss? Now, the problem at work, obviously, is not a big one, maybe only a potential problem. So a sensitive employer or personnel representative won't press in this case. If the answer is no, then for now, don't pursue it. All right, here's the practice. Let's try it. Speak aloud. That way, you have the advantage of hearing what you actually say. Situation. Your assistant, Rohini, seems nervous, a little out of sorts, and you're worried about how it might affect his job. You. You could say, I don't want to intrude, Rohini, but are you having problems you'd like to discuss? Of course, your input may vary, and that's okay. Compare your responses with mine. Situation 2. One of your employees, Miss Ramapong, did something stupid yesterday, and you need to make sure it doesn't happen again. You. You could say, Miss Ramapong, would you please make an appointment with my secretary, Rachel Ravine, so that we can discuss this recent problem? Situation number 3. You asked your assistant, Regina, to work late yesterday, and she did, but she seems annoyed today. Try to solve the problem if it exists quickly. You. Regina, we need to discuss the duties of your job and my request that you worked late last night. I don't want there to be problems. Can you see me at 1 p.m. today? Situation number 4. Your executive assistant, Miss Sosa, has not been organized enough. It seems like you are doing most of the work. Plan to solve this problem. You. Well, you might say, Miss Sosa, I need to speak to you about our office organization. Please arrange to meet with me at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Situation 5. Your sales manager, Min Lee, has not been able to rally the sales staff. The staffers have also let you know, via rumor, that she has treated them unkindly, sometimes insultingly. Arrange to discuss this with Miss Lee. You. Miss Lee, I need to speak to you about your sales operations immediately. Would you come by the office today at 5:30? Situation 6. Your office manager, Bill Crank, has just insulted one of your staffers in front of everyone in the main office. 2 clients were also in the waiting area. Deal with this. You. Mr. Crank, I want to see you in my office as soon as you finish with this morning's numbers. Please buzz Miss Oden as soon as you're ready. Situation number 7. Your office manager, Miriam Ulam, has told you that one of the staffers, Rita Minou, is out of control. She won't respond to your office manager's suggestions, and she antagonizes other staffers. Arrange to meet with her. You. Well, you would probably say something like this. Miss Minou, will you make an appointment with my assistant, Diane, so that we can discuss your recent work performance? Please do it as soon as possible. This is a serious issue. That's very good. Now, you may want to practice these situations a couple of times. The supervisory starters will be useful in many different circumstances, so you will want to be able to say them automatically. Now we go to general statements of a supervisory nature. This is one of the most critical aspects of business communications. Situations vary, of course, but these are some general expressions which are very useful. Several openers are listed in this business file. Supervisory openers. I want you all to know that I really appreciate the work you have done together. It's been remarkable. What's next? Well, here is the problem. You've all been extraordinarily cooperative and productive, and that needs saying, because our team efforts make us successful. Now, a new challenge. In the end, our success is dependent on our ability to work together, and you all have done that remarkably. Thanks. Here's another task. Teamwork is the key to the game, so even if your group has had difficulties, you will likely get better results if you praise and thank them. Then introduce the next task. Here are 3 situations which will allow you to open your conversation with your team or staff. The situation will simply outline the next job for your group. Open with a statement to your team, then indicate the next task. Here's an example. Situation. Your group has just completed a successful project. Next, they must begin to design the Hayes advertisement campaign. You. Okay, here's an example response. You've all been extraordinarily cooperative and productive, and that needs saying, because your team efforts make us successful. Now, a new challenge. I hope you will all contribute just as effectively in our efforts to complete the Hayes advertising account. Okay, as you can see, there's a lot of room for variation here, and it's a lot of fun. You can be inventive, and you should try to do that. Okay? Let's try just a few of these situations. Number 1. Situation. Your group has just completed a successful project. Next, they must begin to design the Hayes advertisement campaign. You. All right, you may have responded. You've all been extraordinarily cooperative and productive, and that needs saying, because your team efforts make us successful. Now a new challenge. I hope you will all contribute just as effectively in our efforts to complete the Hayes advertising account. Number 2, here's the situation. Your team must begin a new project. The members are cooperative and good workers. The new job is to create an employee orientation handbook. You. Here's a simple response. I want you all to know that I really appreciate the work you have done together. It's been remarkable. I know you'll help us complete this new project, the Employee Orientation Handbook. Number 3. Here's the situation. Your office has done well, and they have been cooperative, but now there is a new and big challenge. Thank them and prepare them for the new work, designing a system for PenPro Corp. You. You might respond, we know that our success is dependent on our ability to work together, and you all have done that remarkably. Thanks. Here's another task, and I think you will find it challenging. We will design a system for PenPro Corp. That was very nice. This is an important lesson. The practices have not been easy. Please review them if you are unsure about them. Then you'll be ready to move on to the next lesson. In this lesson, we will focus on communication within the office, specifically getting to know your colleagues. This improves the office atmosphere, and it helps to make everyone feel like part of the team. American business emphasizes teamwork. Projects are assigned to working groups or teams. Department personnel are expected to work together. Here is a business file containing expressions which allow you to welcome your colleagues to your department or to joint projects. Welcoming new colleagues. Welcome to Information Systems, Samira. Let me introduce you to our team. Byung-chul, welcome to Human Resources. I'd like to take you round to meet your coworkers. Elke, welcome to our department. Please come in and meet our other project leaders. Kyung-hee, I'd like to introduce you to the others of our Procom project team. Sandrine, please let me introduce you to the Human Resources Department staffers. Alex, this is your WAN work group. Let me introduce you to the members of your team. Now, WAN equals Wide Area Network. That's computerese. Chantel, it's a pleasure to have you join our department. I want to introduce you to the people you will be working with. Let's practice welcoming colleagues to our units and preparing to introduce them. Here's an example. The situation: welcome Vincenzo to your personnel department and prepare to introduce him. You. Your response might be, Vincenzo, welcome to the personnel department. Come in and meet your colleagues. Or here's another twist. Welcome to HRD, Vincenzo. Let me introduce you to the team. Remember, HRD is our Human Resource Department? Okay. All right, let's try this practice. Situation number 1. Welcome Vincenzo to your personnel department. Prepare to introduce him. You. Vincenzo, welcome to the personnel department. Come in and meet your colleagues. Or, welcome to HRD, Vincenzo. Let me introduce you to the team. Of course, in this exercise, all of your welcoming words will vary from mine, but compare them with mine to make sure they're accurate. Number 2, situation. Eliane has just arrived to begin work as a team leader in the IS department. Welcome her and prepare to introduce her to your colleagues. You. You might say, Eliane, this is your IS work group. Let me introduce you to the members of your team. Remember, IS stands for Information Systems. Number 3, here's the situation. Monique has just transferred to the accounting department. Greet her and introduce her to the other staffers of your department. You. Monique, it's a pleasure to have you join our department. I want to introduce you to the people you'll be working with. Number 4. Here's the situation. This is Christoph's first day in your international sales division. Introduce him to the Eastern European Sales Department staffers. You. Well, you could say, Christoph, welcome to our Division of International Sales. Please come in and meet your colleagues in the Eastern European Sales Department. Number 5. Situation. Irvin arrives in your departmental office of customer service. Make him welcome. Explain that you want to introduce him to his co-workers. You. This is an easy one. You could say, Irvin, welcome to customer service. I'd like to take you around to meet your coworkers. That was a great practice. Thank you for your participation. Now, repeat that practice if you feel unsure about any of the situations. Let's move to another area of interaction with new colleagues. This is an important topic. It's simple, but it is sometimes touchy. Touchy means delicate. Remember our lesson on delicate communication. Well, the section is related. Here we deal with learning or eliciting or drawing out background information about your coworkers or colleagues because it's important. It's important to know what they do or what their occupation or job is, whom or for which department they work for, etc. But, and this is important, it is also very, very necessary to ask for this information diplomatically. Let's look at a business file, which should help. Asking for colleague backgrounds. Direct for occupation. What do you do? What's your business? Or what's your occupation? Whom do you work for? Direct for firm or company. Which firm do you work for? Or which company do you work for? Who's your employer? Direct for division, department, or supervisor within the company. What division or department are you in? Or what division do you work for? Are you in purchasing? Who's your supervisor? Or who's your boss? Indirect for occupation. Do you mind telling me what your occupation is? Would you mind telling me what you do for a living? What line of work are you in? And indirect for department, firm, or company. Do you mind telling me whom you work for? Or do you mind telling me the name of your firm? Would you mind telling me whom you work with? Would you mind telling me which division or department you work with? Can you tell me which department you're in? Or which department you're associated with? Can you tell me the name of your company? And extra polite for occupation, firm, department, or supervisor. If it's not intrusive, could you tell me what you do? Or, if it's not presumptuous, could you tell me what you do for a living? Might I ask whom you work for? And finally, may I inquire who your supervisor is? Remember, always use polite forms with people who are older or whose positions are, or might be, higher than yours. And if you want to be safe, always use indirect or polite inquiries. And that is true about all of our business file suggestions. All right, let's use these expressions in a practice. Here's an example situation and a query. Query means inquiry or question. The situation: you sit next to a distinguished-looking woman on your flight back to JFK. Ask her what her line of work is. You might say, if it's not presumptuous, could you tell me what your line of work is? Or, might I ask what your line of work is? Or, might I ask what you do for a living? Now, incidentally, your responses to the answers you receive usually provide thanks, of course, and a little information about yourself. For example, oh, thank you, and I'm with Patterson Incorporated. Or, oh, that must be very interesting, I'm a systems analyst with Streeter Corporation, etc. Okay, here we go. You will see the situation on the screen. I'll read it and pause for your response. Number 1, the situation: you sit next to a distinguished-looking woman on your flight back to JFK. Ask her what her line of work is. You might say, if it's not presumptuous, could you tell me what your line of work is? Situation number 2. You meet a person at the bar during a commercial software demonstration at a local convention center. Find out what his/her occupation is. You. Do you mind telling me what your occupation is? Situation number 3. You are at the company picnic buffet table, and the person next to you looks familiar. She obviously works for the same company, but which division or which department? You. Well, you could say something like, hi, I'm Rebecca Swift. Can you tell me which department you're with? And situation number 4, you get on an elevator at company headquarters, and you see a familiar face of a superior, a director, or maybe vice president. You've met, but you don't remember which department or division she's with. Be polite when you ask for information. You. Hello, I'm Indira Shireen from Purchasing. We've met, but I confess I don't recall which department you're with. In this lesson, we will practice office communication within the specialized environment of a team project. Many projects undertaken by business enterprises are developed by teams. Their united efforts are designated by the word teamwork. Members of the team may come from various departments or divisions within the company. Team members may or may not know each other when they are assigned to work on a project. But of course, they must work together harmoniously, productively, and efficiently toward a common goal. In our last lesson, we learned how important it is to get to know our colleagues. This is particularly essential when we begin team activities, and it is usually under an additional pressure of time. So it is important for everyone to feel like he or she is part of the team. In the following business file, hypothetical projects are outlined and assigned to teams. The expressions you find here are common to project team building, project development, brainstorming, and task assignment. Team project starters. Introductions. Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Muller, and I have been assigned to lead this team on the office relocation project. This might sound trite, but I believe we should all introduce ourselves to one another. Let's begin by introducing ourselves. Marianne, would you start, please? Tell us your name, your department, and what your specialty is. Let me start. Then we will proceed around the table. My name is Herman Hesse. I'm a systems analyst in the Infotech department. I would like us to be able to brainstorm and question each other without being pains in the neck or egomaniacs. Salim, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself by way of introduction? Next, please stick to the basics: name, department, specialty, and interests. Harumi, please tell us what you want to focus upon with regard to the marketing effort. Louis, will you describe what you would like to do on our team? Don't be shy and tell us what you think you can do best. Now it's your turn, Margarita. Please tell us what your expectations are concerning the new digital video project initiative. Let's practice some introductory comments aimed at team building. You will introduce yourself, welcome new team members, and generally ask them to describe their skills and interests. Here's an example. The situation: greet the team members and introduce yourself as team leader. You. So you could say, "Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Muller, and I have been assigned to lead this team on the office relocation project." Or, "Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Martin Muller, and I have been asked to be team leader of this group." Remember, your responses will vary. Don't be afraid to add your own elements, but compare them with mine for accuracy. All right, let's try this practice. Number 1, here's the situation. Greet the team members and introduce yourself as team leader. You. You could say, "Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Muller, and I have been assigned to lead this team on the office relocation project." Number 2, here's the situation. Ask your team members to introduce themselves briefly. You. You might say, "Let's begin by introducing ourselves. Marianne, would you start, please? Tell us your name, your department, and what your specialty is." Number 3, here's the situation. You start the introductions yourself, then ask the others to follow. You. Well, you could say something like this. "Let me start, then we will proceed around the table. My name is Herman Hesse. I'm a systems analyst in the Infotech department. Next, please tell us your name, department, and position." Number 4, the situation. Ask for the next introducer, but remind that person to keep it short. You. You could say, "Next, please stick to the basics: name, department, specialty, and interests." Number 5, situation. Ask Margarita specifically what her expectations are about the project. You. You might say, "Margarita, would you please tell us what your expectations are concerning this new project?" Number 6, here's the situation. Ask Louis what he can contribute to your team effort, how he can best help. You. You could say, "Louis, will you describe what you would like to do on our team? Don't be shy, and tell us what you think you can do best." Number 7, here's the situation. Ask Miranda to describe what she thinks she might do best to help the team. You. You could say, "Miranda, tell us what skills you think you can best provide to the team." That's very good. Team building is an exceptionally valuable talent if you can do it well, which means in a friendly and diplomatic manner, and get things accomplished, you will be a great value to your boss. Here are some useful expressions for moving the team building effort into the next phase. Now that we know each other, let's take an action. For example, consider our overall charge, assign specific duties, set up some smaller working groups. I'd like to turn now to the issue of plus an idea or problem. Notice noun or phrase, like assignments, dividing up the work, or smaller working groups. At this point, I would like us all to take an action. For example, write down a list of items, brainstorm on cost cutting, schedule the next 3 meetings. And in our meeting, I would like us to take an action. For example, develop a project timeline, break into small groups, outline the project stages. And finally, let me take a moment to point out an idea, a concern, also a noun or a phrase. For example, to point out a small problem, a method for organizing ourselves. Now let's try for some fluency with these expressions. I'll say one of the sentences and indicate the completer, take an action or idea or concern, and you say the complete sentence, including the completing action or idea. Fun, huh? Let's try it. Now that we know each other, let's take an action. It could be, now that we know each other, let's consider our overall charge. Or, let's assign specific duties. Or, let's set up some small working groups. I'd like to turn now to the issue of idea or problem. Okay, I'd like to turn now to the issue of assignments, or dividing up the work. At this point, I would like us all to take an action. At this point, I would like us all to write down a list of our strengths and weaknesses. In our meeting, I would like us to take an action. Maybe this. In our meeting, I would like us to develop a project timeline. Let me take a moment now to point out an idea or concern. This one. Let me take a moment now to point out a method for organizing ourselves. That's very nice. Team building is a real art. You may want to do these practices again. In this lesson, we deal with personnel issues. Personnel issues are almost always those which require delicate communications. Here we will study some specific personnel situations and try to develop the language necessary for dealing with them adequately. The following business file lists several common personnel issue openers. These openers are icebreakers for beginning difficult conversations about job performance or behavior problems. Note that they refer to many different kinds of problems. Personnel issue starters. I asked you to meet with me, Miss Courtney, so we could talk about the problems you're having with your coworkers. Marina, your director has asked me to speak to you about your tardiness record of the past 2 months. This is a serious situation. Eliani, I'd like to talk with you about the recent incident in your office. Your response to one of our customers was simply not acceptable. I arranged this meeting, Helmut, so that I could talk with you about your problem with your supervisor, Rafi Barilan. Your intransigence to his requests has become a serious issue. Miss Rimini, I set up this meeting to discuss your personal difficulties with your coworker, Henrietta Desmet. Stavros, we've got to talk about the issue of your excessive absences. This has become a serious problem. Please sit down, Mr. Lykros. We must have a frank discussion of your personal use of the telephone here at Storage Associates. Miss Kouskunis, Mr. Raphael has asked me to talk to you about your behavior in your departmental office. He's worried that you approach your office duties much too informally. Mr. Slocum, I should inform you that this will be the last time I speak with you on the issue of your behavior on the job here at Procom Incorporated. Here's an exercise for you. Please review the 9 personnel issue starters again. Now, analyze the 9 statements. List the numbers of the statements from least serious to most serious. For example, if you think that number 3, Eliani, I'd like to talk with you about the recent incident in your office, your response to one of our customers was simply not acceptable, is the least serious opener, then write number 3 on your paper first. Again, create your list, moving from least serious to most serious. Now, the order of the numbers will not be in 1, 2, 3 sequence. Give it a try. Pause your program, review the list, analyze the starters. Write your list of numbers. Return here for a review. Once again, your order may vary slightly from mine. All right, let's review. The first number on your list probably should be number 7. Please sit down, Mr. Lycros. We must have a frank discussion of your personal use of the telephone here at Storage Associates. Personal use of the telephone is not a big deal. Your next number should be number 2. Marina, your director has asked me to speak to you about your tardiness record of the past 2 months. This is a serious situation. Well, it's serious, but it's just tardiness, late to work. So, low order seriousness. And your next number might be number 8. Miss Kuskunis, Mr. Raphael has asked me to talk to you about your behavior in your departmental office. He's worried that you approach your office duties much too informally. How you do your duties? They must be approached formally, not informally. And then The next number would probably be number 5. Miss Rimini, I set up this meeting to discuss your personal difficulties with your coworker Henrietta Desmet. Coworker difficulties begin to be serious. Then look at the next number, probably number 1. I asked you to meet with me, Miss Courtney, so we could talk about the problems you are having with your coworkers. Not just a problem with one coworker, but a problem with a lot of coworkers. That's serious. Next is probably number 6. Stavros, we've got to talk about the issue of your excessive absences. This has become a serious problem. It has become a serious problem, so it's probably not the first time. Serious. And next, probably number 3. Eliani, I'd like to talk with you about the recent incident in your office. Your response to one of our customers was simply not acceptable. Customer response is a serious issue. Next, number 4, perhaps. I arranged this meeting, Helmut, so that I could talk with you about your problem with your supervisor, Rafi Barilan. Your intransigence to his request has become a serious issue. If you're intransigent, meaning unremitting, to requests from your superior, that's serious. And finally, probably number 9, Mr. Slocum, I should inform you that this will be the last time I speak with you on the issue of your behavior on the job here at Procom Incorporated. If it's the last time, that's sort of the last straw. Well, how did you do? That's a tough exercise. But it's important to match your expressions to the severity of the situation in personnel discussions. Now let's practice some of these expressions. You'll see a brief description of a situation on screen. Your job is to make an appropriate opener for the personnel discussion. Refer to the last business file on personnel issue openers. Here's an example. The situation. Make an opener to Mr. Lykos. Excessive absences. You. Well, you might say, Mr. Lykos, I need to speak to you about your excessive absences from work. Or, we must have a frank talk about your excessive absences from the job, Mr. Lykos. They have become a problem. All right, this isn't very difficult. Let's try some. Number 1, the situation. Make an opener to Mr. Lykos. Excessive absences. You. You might say, Mr. Lykos, I need to speak to you about your excessive absences from work. Of course, in these practices, your responses can vary, and they should. Compare them for accuracy afterwards. Number 2, situation. Make an opener to Helmut. Problems with his supervisor, Rafi Barilan. You. You might say, I arranged this meeting, Helmut, so that I could talk with you about your problems with your supervisor, Rafi Barilan. And you might add, your intransigence to his request has become a serious issue. Number 3, here's the situation. Make an opener to Miss Desmet. Response to one of our customers. You. You could say, Miss Desmet, I'd like to talk with you about the recent incident in your office. Your response to one of our customers was simply not acceptable. Number 4, the situation. Make an opener to Mr. Bin Said. Behavior on the job. You. You might say, Mr. Bin Said, I should inform you that this will be the last time I speak with you on the issue of your behavior on the job. Very tough talk. Number 5, here's the situation. Make an opener to Miss Van Mecklenburg. Problems she is having with her coworkers. You. Well, you might say, I asked you to meet with me, Miss Van Mecklenburg, so we could talk about the problems you are having with your coworkers. Number 6. Here's the situation. Make an opener to Marina, her tardiness record of the past 2 months. You. You could say, Marina, your director has asked me to speak to you about your tardiness record of the past 2 months. And you might add, this is a serious situation. Finally, number 7, the situation. Make an opener to Mr. Still. Personal use of the telephone here at work. You. Please sit down, Mr. Still. We must have a discussion of your personal use of the telephone here at work. Very good. Now let's focus on another personnel issue. This is the issue of clarification. It's a technique used to help the person with whom you are speaking clarify his or her feelings or problems. As a supervisor, for example, in speaking about job behavior to an employee, it is important to allow people to explain themselves so they feel as if the points are clear. At the same time, if you are discussing job behavior or performance with an employee, as a supervisor or personnel consultant, you want to keep the discussion on an objective basis. Look at this business file of clarification prompts. Personnel issue clarifiers. Try to explain the situation again, Melissa. This time be as objective and factual as you can. Mr. Rinaldi, let me see if I understand you correctly. Then rephrase his situation in objective terms. In which ways, Ms. Santos, do you feel Mr. Harper minimizes your accomplishments? Can you clarify for me what specific actions your coworker has taken that make you feel left out of the loop? Do you have any ideas, Mr. Takemura, which would help us organize your duties so that they are not so burdensome? Tamika, I'd like to explore with you some ways you think our coworker relations might be improved in this department. These examples illustrate the strategy. 1, address the person. 2, ask for clarification. 3, specify the problem or issue. Now let's practice a few of these. I'll read the initial phrase or clarifying expression, and you complete it. Here's an example. Try to explain. You might say, try to explain the situation again, Melissa. Be as objective and factual as you can. Or you might say, try to explain the problems you're having, Melissa, etc. Got the picture? Okay, let's try that. Try to explain. You might have said, try to explain the situation again, Melissa. Be as objective and factual as you can. In which ways, Ms. Santos? You could have said, in which ways, Ms. Santos, do you feel Mr. Harper minimizes your accomplishments? Can you clarify for me? You could say, can you clarify for me what specific actions your coworker has taken that make you feel left out of the loop? Do you have any ideas, Mr. Takemura? You could say, do you have any ideas, Mr. Takemura, which would help us organize your duties? And you could add, so that they are not so burdensome. Tamika, I'd like to explore with you. Yes, you could say, Tamika, I'd like to explore with you some ways you think your coworker relations might be improved in this department. Great. That's very good work on an important area of American English business communication. In this lesson, we will take up the communication strategies of American business job interview sessions. Needless to say, this is a very important area for anyone in the American business world. There's always a lot of pressure involved, so the best strategy is one of preparation and practice. Remember also, however, that people conducting job interviews are as interested in an amicable and interesting session as those who are interviewing. For that reason, honesty is often a disarming and effective tack. Here are some strategic concerns for job interviews in the business file for this lesson. Job interview pointers. Your appearance is as important as your speech. Dress for business. Don't overdress. Your interest in the job and the company must be apparent. Your background must be suitable, but perfection here is not usually an issue. Your manner must be businesslike, but not dry, mechanical, or demanding. Humor can be very important. Now, let's translate these pointers into communication techniques. Appearance. This also concerns body language, how you look, act, move. All of these things are a form of your individual communication in the situation. It should be businesslike. Interest. Know something about the industry, the company, its competitors. Then you'll have something relevant to say. Background. Speak about it in basic terms, to the point and related to the job. Don't exaggerate. Manner. Try to focus on what questions you are asked and how best to respond to them. Don't act apart. Let's go now to a business file which lists typical job interview questions. Remember this, however, these are typical questions. Always be ready for a personal question or two. More about that later. Here's a business file with job interview questions. Notice that they focus upon two strategic areas we discussed before: interest and background. Job interview questions. Tell me how you became interested in Max stores. What exactly do you know about our store operations? Can you tell us how you became interested in financial services? How much do you know about retail banking? What areas of banking are you particularly interested in? Would you please summarize your experience in information systems? How about your last job? Could you talk a little about your duties and responsibilities, or your current job? What has been your experience in retail banking? How do you believe your education has prepared you for this particular position? Have you actually had experience on the trading floor? Those job interview questions are general purpose, run-of-the-mill questions. They change, of course, relating to the particular industry and company in which the job is offered. As you can surmise, preparation for the questions is simply a matter of straightforward logic. Learn about the industry and company, assess your training and experience in relation to them, and prepare to detail how your training and experience match the requirements of the industry, the company, and the particular job. The responses to these interview questions are largely individual. By that I mean that the responses depend upon the situation, the industry, and company, and the individual seeking the job. But we will provide some general response patterns for each of the questions. Look at this first one. Tell me how you became interested in Max stores. Well, I've always been interested in retail. Here, the emphasis is on the industry. My interest comes from my own association with Max. Here, the emphasis is on personal association. Actually, I've been interested in general merchandise outlets since childhood. This is what we call the childhood gimmick. And here, my interest was stimulated by what I read about Max in the financial press, the reference to news reports. Now let's practice responding to these job interview questions. I'll ask the question, you choose a response, and say it aloud. Here we go. Tell me how you became interested in Dollar Max stores. You might have said, my interest comes from my own association with Dollar Max. Can you tell us how you became interested in financial services? Your response? Well, I've always been interested in financial services. What exactly do you know about our store operations? All right, you might have responded, well, to be honest, just what I've seen during personal visits. I'd really appreciate an overview of your business. How much do you know about retail banking? Here's a response. Frankly, I don't know much, and I was hoping you might summarize it for me. That was very good. Here, then, is the business file for job interview questions and answers, Q&As. This time, with sample response patterns for each. You have practiced the general ones, and you can practice the more specific ones when you review this section. Job interview Q&As. Tell me how you became interested in Dollar Max stores. My interest comes from my own association with Dollar Max. What exactly do you know about our store operations? Frankly, I don't know much, and I was hoping you might summarize them for me. Can you tell us how you became interested in financial services? Actually, I've been interested in financial services since childhood. How much do you know about retail banking? Well, I know about retail accounts and credit departments, but not the overall operations scene. What areas of banking are you particularly interested in? I'm honestly interested in all of them, but I especially like retail banking, credit, etc. Would you please summarize your experience in information systems? Sure. My education was in infotech, and my first position was a programmer at Barton Data. I was promoted to a systems analyst after 2 years. How about your last job? Could you talk a little about your duties and responsibilities? Gladly. I was the supervisor for specific product telemarketing. My duties involved supervising 9 marketers. What has been your experience in retail banking? I have had 4 years' experience with First National in Des Moines. I began as a teller. After a year, I was promoted to floor supervisor. How do you believe your education has prepared you for this particular position? Well, my college degree is in finance. In addition, I have done a continuing education certificate in international banking at NYU. Have you actually had experience on the trading floor? No. Unfortunately, all my experience has been back office, but it is quite varied. Let's turn now to a brief business file which lists a few job interview questions. They are designed to measure personal characteristics. Personal interview questions. What do you like to do in your spare time? What is it about your current job which causes you to look for another one? What attributes do you look for in a boss? Would you tell us what you think your own personal employment strengths are? Any weaknesses? What attributes do you look for in your coworkers? For questions of a specifically personal nature, you will be most successful if you approach them honestly. After all, you are the person most qualified to reply. Of course, you will also want to stress those areas that are your strengths, and you might respond humorously about your weaknesses. Incidentally, everyone has weaknesses, but you might refer to them as areas you are trying to improve or develop. Preparation and common sense are your best aids in developing responses to personal interview questions. Look at this first one. What do you like to do in your spare time? And I have 3 response patterns. I don't have a lot of spare time, but, etc. I prefer to spend my free time, etc. And most of all, I use the time, etc. And I've listed some free time categories here. I've chosen family, sports, culture, self-improvement, and hobbies. You, of course, could develop your own. Let's try these responses with some categories. I don't have a lot of spare time, but I prefer to spend it with my children. I prefer to spend my free time skiing. Or most of all, I use the time to read, to attend night school, to collect stamps. Let's practice responses to these personal interview questions. Here we go. What do you like to do in your spare time? All right, you might have said, I don't have a lot of spare time, but I prefer to spend it with my children, the family category. What attributes do you look for in a boss? Well, you might have said, I look for 3 important ones: honesty, humor, direction. Would you tell us what you think your own personal employment strengths are? And your response might have been, I think my greatest strength is interpersonal relations. That was a very good job. Here now is the business file for the personal interview questions, this time with a sample response pattern for each. You have practiced some already, and you can practice the more specific ones when you review this section. Personal interview questions and answers. What do you like to do in your spare time? I don't have a lot of spare time, but I prefer to spend it with my kids, movies, sports, skiing. What is it about your current job which causes you to look for another one? I'm really just tired of it. I need some new stimulation and I need more challenges. What attributes do you look for in a boss? I look for 3 important ones: flexibility, humor, and direction. Would you tell us what you think your own personal employment strengths are? I think my greatest strength is interpersonal relations. Any weaknesses? Well, none I want to think about, but I'm trying to develop my ability to manage time more efficiently. What attributes do you look for in your coworkers? I look for personableness, flexibility, and humor. In this lesson, we will take up a very important issue in business communications: promotions. The communication strategies for this aspect of the workplace are also based on logic and common sense. In American business situations, employees have to earn promotions. It means normal hard work and usually going a little further, or, as we say, going the extra mile. Perhaps the single most important aspect for job promotions is the ability to get along with others. Interpersonal relations is a very big benefit, especially for supervisory and middle managerial jobs. That's why business communication strategies are so important. Let's look at a business file which lists reasons why an employee might think about a promotion next year. These are all competency-based items, meaning ways the employee has actually demonstrated his or her competence on the job. They are very dependable guides. Steps toward promotion. Long hours, hard work, and visibility during a particularly busy and successful period for the company. A coup. Coup is French for a unique, one-of-a-kind accomplishment. For example, an extraordinary sale, or a large number of sales, an unexpected alliance, an unusual contact established. Successful projects, especially if you were the team leader, sometimes even if you were just a team member. Steady improvement. This usually involves steadily improved earnings or production of a measurable sort, market or market share, as well as publicity. And the long haul. This involves time in grade or many years in a position with dependable, regular success. Here's one way to organize our thinking about requests for promotion. I've listed the main reasons people are granted promotions: long hours, a coup, a successful project, steady improvement, the long haul. They're from our business file, in shorthand. And in parentheses, I've listed the appropriate verbs: been putting in, accomplished, completed, finished, made, or been in for. Let me illustrate. Miss Netto, I'd like you to consider me for a promotion, please. I've been putting in long hours for over a year. Or, I've accomplished a coup. I got that government contract. Or, I've completed a successful project, the office relocation project. Or, I've made steady improvement in our current accounts balance. And finally, I've been in for the long haul, 11 years, and I've done good work. Business communication on the topic of promotions also must deal with the kind of promotion a person seeks or expects. One must be prepared to explain to an employer what kind of promotion is appealing. At one level, promotion might simply be translated into a raise. Or a promotion can mean elevation to an entirely different level of responsibility. Let's look at a business file. This one lists the kinds of promotions employees might seek. These are designed as generic responses to the boss's question, well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? Describing promotions. I'm really not sure. I just believe I'm not being adequately recognized for my hard work. It's hard for me to say, but I do think I have accomplished enough things this year to indicate I can handle broader duties. I feel as though I have performed excellently in this position for 2 years and that it no longer has enough to attract and challenge me. I believe I have demonstrated that I am capable of performing at a higher level, one where I have wider responsibilities. This is my 11th year at the company. I'm happy with my job, but I need additional challenges. I would also like to be compensated at a higher rate. I think I have shown that I can work well with others and that I can plan and complete projects. I'd like some management responsibilities. I believe you will agree I have been a successful supervisor, and this year our project successes have been very secure. I would like a broader management position and better compensation. Note that these descriptions move from the least certain, least demanding, I'm really not sure, it's hard for me to say, to a very well-defined request. I have been a successful supervisor, etc., and I would like a broader management position. We'll have a chance to practice describing our promotional requests now. I'll provide you with prompts on screen and the beginning expressions from our business file. So you may want to review that business file describing promotions before continuing with this practice. All right, here we go. You will see the beginning of a promotion request on the screen. I'll repeat it and pause for you to formulate the remaining part of the request. Here's an example. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? I'm really not sure. I just believe you. I'm really not sure. I just believe I'm not being adequately recognized for my hard work. You can, of course, ad-lib or improvise anything in addition, or you can rely on our business file responses. The object is to practice and aloud. Let's begin. Number 1. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? I'm really not sure. I just believe you. Your response might have been, I'm really not sure. I just believe I'm not being adequately recognized for my hard work. Number 2. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? It's hard for me to say, but I do think you. You may have said, it's hard for me to say, but I do think I have accomplished enough things this year to indicate I can handle broader duties. Number 3. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? I feel as though I have performed you. Well, you might have said this, a mouthful. I feel as though I have performed excellently in this position for 2 years, and that it no longer has enough to attract and challenge me. Number 4. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? I believe I have demonstrated that I am capable of performing you. You may have said, I believe I have demonstrated that I am capable of performing at a higher level, one where I have wider responsibilities. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? This is my 11th year at the company. I'm happy with my job, but you. You may have responded, this is my 11th year at the company. I'm happy with my job, but I need additional challenges. I would also like to be compensated at a higher rate. Number 6. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? I think I have shown that I can work well with others and that I can plan and complete projects. I'd like you. And you may have said, I think I have shown that I can work well with others and that I can plan and complete projects. I'd like some management responsibilities. And finally, number 7. Well, just what sort of promotion are you thinking of? I believe you will agree I've been a successful supervisor, and this year our project successes have been very secure. I would like you. And you may have responded, I believe you will agree I have been a successful supervisor, and this year our project successes have been very secure. I would like a broader management position and better compensation. Thank you for joining us for video-aided instructions learning English. But we're not done. There's much more to learn. So be sure to watch the other great programs presented by video-aided instruction so you can learn to speak, read, and write English correctly.